Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Majlis. Yes, we're talking about the newest developments from Sharjah, project contracts that we're talking about right now. The latest development is the Sharjah Directorate of Public Works just announced that it has awarded 36 project contracts valued at a whopping 121 million dirhams during the remote work period of the directorate. And according to a building contracting director at the Sharjah Directorate of Public Works, Fatima Hassan, she explained that these projects include construction and maintenance works for administrational building of Khorfakan Sports Club, roadworks leading to the flag mast in Khorfakan, electromechanical maintenance works in the city of Sharjah, and also security systems installations in correctional facilities in Al Ramtha.
Yep, good news. Lots of new developments to look forward to in the Emirate of Sharjah, especially the flag mast. When I was in Khorfakan, I really wanted to go up there. It was a bit dark, so I couldn't tell how I could get up to the little bit of a hill where we have that.
You didn't go
up to the flag? No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was after 7 p.m. and it was dark, so I just didn't want to risk it with my Morning Majlis Greenmobile. So the step comes as a complement to achieving the Department of Public Works plan to shift to electronic and smart services, and all of it is to support the business environment through adoption of paperless systems, thus saving time, effort, and expenses on the contracting parties.
That's right, and the building contracting director, Fatima Hassan, also stated that the directorate is performing all necessary measures in light of COVID-19, including disinfection of sites and facilities on a regular basis. And she said that the directorate is collaborating with BIA companies and related authorities as per the recommendations of the Ministry of Health and Prevention on the public's safety.
Yep, of course. Now, there is lots to discuss when it comes to the disinfection. Yesterday evening, we saw the conclusion of the National Disinfection Program in a grand ceremony with BIA and Sharjah Police and Municipality. We will be talking a little bit more about that later on in the program. Just after 9 o'clock, we'll be hearing from the CEO of Tandeef. So stay tuned to Pulse 95 and the Morning Majlis to hear all the big discussions from there. Up next, we are going to be talking about other major developments here in the Emirate of Sharjah, particularly when it comes to a humanitarian gesture. What's going on? Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate.
Hello, good morning and welcome back on to the Morning Majlis. And we had a big issue or a big development during the holy month of Ramadan, and that was the fire here at one of the towers in An-Nahda of Sharjah. And His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, had directed the Sharjah Charity Association to provide suitable housing for all residents of the Abco Tower where the fire had broken out. And it was a great initiative by the group, and they came out in full support, giving them housing in nearby hotels and also providing them with food during the difficult time for a lot of family members who were affected by it. So in terms of the outcome, over 1 million dirhams have been spent to aid the affected people by the Abco fire.
Absolutely. And we have also a statement coming out from the CEO of the Sharjah Charity International, Abdullah Sultan ibn Khadim. He pointed out that a working group was formed by the association, which in turn was present to stand next to these families and also provide urgent assistance to them. And coordination was actually made with a number of hotels to provide temporary accommodation for them and their families. That is also in addition to the 1 million dirhams given.
That's right, Rania. And to give a breakdown of the 1 million dirhams, it includes a sponsorship of temporary housing rents, which includes over 285 rooms over the entire month. Also, people will be provided with over 18,000 meals and spending material support to enable families to be able to provide for their own basic needs, especially in light of the fact that exposure to the fire caused them to lose their money and belongings as well.
Yeah, it wasn't a very easy ordeal to go through. A number of people who had spoken to local media had said that the only thing that they could grab were their passports, identification, maybe some cash that they had, and ATM cards as well. But a number of them, obviously, the fire starting at 9 in the evening during the holy month of Ramadan as well. It is so unexpected. But in terms of how the civil defense had worked, the fire was put out in 2.5 hours, and it was a really remarkable work by the Sharjah police, who had also used drones and thermal technology to detect whether there was anyone stranded in each of the floors, and it was a coordinated effort and a fantastic effort to curb the spread of the fire as well. And of course, the exterior cladding was partly to be blamed with the speed the fire had spread at. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. We'll be giving you all the developments and updates across the globe. Up next, another thing to be slightly worried about is that the global cases of COVID-19 have now exceeded 10 million. All this will be discussed right after the business news headlines.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Hi everybody, good morning and welcome back to the Morning Majlis. And Johns Hopkins University in the United States has issued a report on the state of the coronavirus worldwide, and the coronavirus has reached new alarming benchmarks. More than 10 million cases across the world, and over 500,000 people worldwide have lost their lives as a result of this pandemic. Now, half the world's cases have been in the United States and Europe, and COVID-19 now is rapidly growing in the Americas, particularly in Latin America as well. We also have an alarming situation in South Asia and Africa. Researchers say the virus in those regions is not expected to peak until the end of July.
Yeah, it's worrying times indeed, and we're seeing particularly in India, India and Brazil both battling cases worth about or over 10,000 cases a day, putting a bit of a strain on their resources. And what we're seeing is the total number of cases have continued to increase its rates of between 1 to 2% a day in the past week. They're down from rates above 10% in March, though. But countries including China, New Zealand and Australia have seen new outbreaks in the past month, despite largely restricting local transmissions. And it is going to be slightly worrying, and the world is worried about the second wave aspect of it. And the economic ramifications is the one that is the worst in terms of the impact of the coronavirus. But in Beijing, some developments, Rania.
Yes, in Beijing, actually, hundreds of new cases were linked to an agricultural market. Testing capacity has been ramped up to 300,000 per day. But as of now, the United States, which has reported the most cases of any country at more than 2.5 million cases, managed to slow the spread of the virus actually in May, only to see it expand in recent weeks to rural areas and other places that were previously unaffected.
That's right, and certainly sheds light on the alarming nature of the coronavirus and how a city like Beijing in China, for instance, could go 2 months without officially reporting a local coronavirus case, and then come mid-June and now you have another spike of cases on your hands to deal with. We had the same thing happen in South Korea, which had about 750 new cases daily in late March and early March and late February as well. But by now, there's a slight resurgence, a few dozen cases per day emerging out of the country. Now, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States said that for every reported case, there were 10 other estimated infections in the United States. So when we say 10 million coronavirus cases. We're only talking about confirmed cases, obviously due to gaps in testing and other issues as well, plaguing various countries around the world, especially those that are not well equipped to handle the rise of coronavirus cases. The numbers tend to be underrepresented, so that's a major caveat here.
It is, and one thing that to note is that there is, particularly when it comes to recoveries, the recovery rate has also been quite impressive, and it's great to see that the recoveries in the United States have been over 70,000, particularly in New York area, but it has been some positive developments, and particularly here in the United Arab Emirates as well. Some new developments coming in, and confirmed new cases. It's been slightly fluctuating. We were talking 800 new cases a day a couple of weeks ago.
As of now, we don't have any new cases. As of late.
As of late, we've had some developments when it came to yesterday.
We are standing at 47,797 right now, total cases. Total recovery is actually 36,411. The active cases as of now in UAE is about 11,000, with the total deaths of 313.
No, that's true. But however, yesterday evening, the UAE had reported 437 new cases of COVID-19, including 577 recoveries. So recoveries have exceeded the number of new cases per day so far, which is a very, very good indication of the United Arab Emirates healthcare system here. But it is a pandemic. It is something that we are learning from every day and adapting to it, and we will continue to adapt as well. But it is just going to be a matter of time that the world tends to recover, and vaccines will get developed very soon.
Certainly will. Hopefully they get developed soon. We have a number of major candidates here in advanced stages of testing. One of the trickier things about developing a vaccine is finding a large enough number of people that are infected with the virus. So if a country is conducting a trial, they would conduct it at a country abroad as well. And we'll certainly cover all those developments for you here on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we've got more developments here. Should you seek to obtain a driving license in the country, the requirements have changed. In fact, it might just be easier. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Well, great news. We're talking about optimistic news, all right? For people who are taking driving lessons and they are thinking about, we're going to go through the hassle of obtaining an NOC, a no objection certificate from my employer. Well, that doesn't need to happen anymore. Anyone in the UAE can now start taking driving lessons without obtaining a non-objection certificate from his or her employer. And this rule came into effect just last week across the UAE as a whole, making it easier for everyone, especially those in the low-income group, to learn to drive and also enhance their chances of employment here in the nation. Now, earlier, only people from 66 select professional categories were allowed to open a file for driving lessons without obtaining an NOC from their employers. Low-income group workers such as waiters, domestic helps, shop salesperson, and a lot of people were not allowed to start taking driving lessons without obtaining a permission from their employer. But now, the new rule has ensured equal opportunities for all.
Yeah, a lot of driving schools are saying that this is a very positive step because it will make it easier for all those who want to start getting their driver's licenses and obtain a file at any driving institutes. A number of people within our close circles have managed to get their driver's license recently. But I remember back in the days when I had to apply for it, I had to apply using an NOC. Of my dear father, and it was an interesting experience back in the days to get the driver's license. Everyone used to be panicking about the driving tests, and they tended to be very difficult to pass. But now a number of people from everyone from any category of employment level can now apply for a driver's license, and the nerves of getting through that. And our very own Ahmed Dawood also recently passed his test a couple of months ago. Had also gone through the same ordeal.
Yeah, I've gone through the same process, having to submit an NOC certificate. And thankfully, I was not in the bracket that this initiative is targeting, because it's here for people who've lost their jobs due to the impact of COVID-19. And as well as to boost their chances at getting work. There are a lot of people, for instance, who are reportedly interested in taking lessons for motorcycle lessons. And that's due to an increase in demand for delivery services and online shopping. So to stimulate jobs, so to speak, they made this one step a whole lot easier, obtaining a driver's license without needing a no objection certificate from the employer.
Yes, and it's worth reminding everyone who wishes to open a file with a driving school that the documents you need are only about 4 documents: copies of passport and residence visa pages, a copy and original Emirates ID card, 2 photographs, and an eye test report.
Yeah, I've always celebrated the day. In fact, when I first got my driver's license, I did celebrate the anniversary of passing my test for the first 3 years at least. And it's such a pleasure, and everyone really celebrates that day. And it's to get your hands on a driver's license, it's such a happy occasion and such a major step in your milestone in your career, in your life in general. But shout out to all of you who've recently passed the tests and gone through the ordeal of applying for your license and getting through. And one thing for sure is, back in the days they used to say it, and they still say it now, that a driver's license, a UAE driver's license, really strengthens your CV. It is regarded as almost as a degree. So
absolutely.
And this is going to be a very, very good news to help those seeking employment in the country post the UAE's fight against the pandemic and the spread of COVID-19. Well, we'll be right back after the news headlines. Lots of musical entertainment lined up for you to keep you entertained on your journey. And do get involved on the text lines 4215 if you'd like to have your say on any of the topics that we're discussing here on the Morning Majlis. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. Good morning, Sharjah and the United Arab Emirates. Monday morning, slightly busier out and about on the roads. The sun is shining and glorious weather of 41 degrees Celsius. Something to look forward to and celebrate for sure. But we're also celebrating Sharjah's great success, particularly, Rania, when it comes to being number one in growth ecosystem.
Absolutely. Sharjah, has been recognized for its achievements in many sectors recently, but the newest recognition comes as Sharjah has ranked number 1, in the newly launched Global Startup Ecosystem Report, marking a milestone in the Emirates' journey towards becoming a thriving global startup hub. So we are going to delve more into this achievement and what it means for the Emirate and the UAE as a whole.
Plus our coverage of coronavirus cases around the world, notably in India, where we've been seeing a spike in confirmed coronavirus cases. We'll talk about what the Indian government has been doing. In fact, it's opened one of the largest hospitals in the world. More details on that and on the fight against COVID-19 all around the world, right here on the Morning Majlis.
Yep, of course. There's going to be so much to look forward to, particularly when it comes to hospitals being formed and some strict measures here in the Emirate of Sharjah when it comes to organising gatherings. We are going to be talking a little bit more about that in terms of what the advisory is coming in from the authorities here in the Emirate, and we'll give you all the latest updates about the prices of crude and expectations of where the oil prices are going to average next year. Stay tuned to the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate.
Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome back to the Morning Majlis. And we're talking startups, entrepreneurship, small and medium enterprises, because we've had the newly launched Global Startup Ecosystem Report saying that Sharjah's been ranked in the top in high growth activation phase ecosystems. So this is in line with the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center's mandate to put Sharjah on the map as an entrepreneurial hub both locally and internationally. Shira has partnered with Startup Genome, that's a policy advisor and research organization for governments and public-private partnership, in order to benchmark the performance of Sharjah's entrepreneurial ecosystem and its contributions towards the Global Startup Ecosystem Report.
Yes, and the GSER is actually the world's most comprehensive and widely read research on startups. And it was launched actually at the Ecosystems Couch Conference on June 25th with 250 ecosystems studied, a ranking in the top 30 and 10 runner-up global ecosystems, and also a top 100 ranking of emerging ecosystems, as well as a ranking of high-growth ecosystems based upon the ecosystem life cycle model. And according to Najla Al-Madfa, CEO of Shira, she has a statement saying, it is a proud moment for Shira and Sharjah to be recognized as a top high-growth ecosystem by Startup Genome. This achievement is a testament to our dedicated efforts over the past 5 years to cultivate a world-class entrepreneurship ecosystem. We definitely look forward to further advancing Sharjah's reputation as a vibrant startup hub, one that is home to high-impact ventures that contribute to our communities and also the growth of our economy.
Yeah, Sharjah's continued to be a very attractive destination for investors, particularly startups in general. Start of Sharjah Media City was another avenue for creatives to get involved. And Sharjah Media City, in fact, started a couple of years ago, over 3 years ago, in fact, and it did attract a number of freelancers, attracted a number of innovators, and also opened up more avenues for different industries to operate from Sharjah Media City. And Shira being out there as a forefront to help a lot of startups, tech startups as well. We've had the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival, a dedicated festival for all these budding startups to get together and in a very relaxed atmosphere continue the discussions about their businesses. Now,
and adding to it, just adding to what you just said, actually last month, Shira pledged a $1 million solidarity fund to help strained startups weather the tide of the COVID-19 crisis as well.
You know, such examples. It's just incredible to see how the Emirate has been thinking a lot about these startups. Now, this report cites Sharjah's commitment to research and innovation, its access to high-caliber talent through University City, and the presence of regional subsector strengths such as education, technology, and the creative economy as identified as key assets in the Sharjah ecosystem.
Certainly is, and the GSER, the Global Startup Ecosystem Report, certainly focused on what startup ecosystems and entrepreneurial ecosystems in countries around the world are doing amid COVID-19, providing aspiring entrepreneurs with opportunities, particularly in the realm of tech during COVID-19. And Shira has certainly emerged as a great support system for those intending on starting businesses during this critical time. Up next, we have more stories and developments from around the world to discuss. Stay tuned as we discuss the state of oil prices and so much more on the Morning Majlis.
Stocks, docks and barrels. This morning's Big Business Recap.
Yeah, big business recap. Oil prices have slid for a second straight session today as coronavirus cases rose in the United States and other places, leading countries to resume partial lockdowns that could hurt the fuel demand. And as per the current prices of oil, we look at them, they are trading at $41 a two. That's Brent crude. WTI crude is $38.49. But in terms of a Brent crude's likely forecast, now in June, they're expecting it to be having a third consecutive monthly gain after major global producers had extended that 9.7 million barrels per day supply cuts. But looking at industry reports, couple of them are saying that WTI is forecast to be trading at $47 per barrel for 2021. And they're based on anticipation that a tighter market for oil supply and demand will continue. But Brent crude could average around $50 per barrel in 2021.
That's right. And according to the Bank of America, this would happen on the back of a faster than expected demand recovery in sectors such as transportation, as well as further supply cuts from OPEC. Now, this lender revised its estimate for the world's most widely traded crude benchmark, which is up by $7. So it was expected to average $43 prior. Now, they commented on global oil market fundamentals, and they said that for the rest of the year 2020, oil prices will rise even faster, as well as over the next 2 years, and that is due to a recovery in mobility demand. They're also saying that OPEC Plus is holding back larger supply volumes than anticipated, and we should expect a decline in U.S. shale supply as well, which should have a positive impact on the benchmark and the global oil prices as well.
Yes, and the recent rally actually in oil prices over the past few weeks tailed off at the end of last week as COVID-19 cases surged globally, leading to concerns about the possibility of a second wave of the pandemic. Brent ended the week down marginally at $41 on Friday, while WTI fell 0.6%, settling at $38.49 per barrel.
That's where they currently stand as well, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the oil market. But at the moment, we do know that ExxonMobil, another major oil company, they're set to make major job cuts, which is not a pleasant news to be looking at. But analysts are saying the reopening of several major U.S. states has been put on hold as COVID-19 cases are increasing, and in some instances posting record single-day numbers, which is also expecting to see another extensive lockdown in the United States, and that's why there is a slight drop in demand in gasoline consumption as well. So this is one of the reasons why the prices are facing a little bit of a decline. But in terms of gains, it certainly has been, because before the start of the pandemic, we're looking at oil prices trading around $29 a barrel, $25 a barrel, which isn't really pleasing to see, particularly for oil-dependent economies as well. But a little bit of positivity, a bit of optimism to look forward to. We are seeing a gradual increase and improvement in prices of oil, and we're hoping that this rally shall continue. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we will be talking about a couple of big developments, particularly when it comes to fight against the spread of COVID-19 locally as well as abroad. What's happening? All this will be discussed right after the sports headlines.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, as many countries are trying to cope and kind of get over and fight the spread of COVID-19, all of them are opening large hospitals. And one in particular here, for example, we have in Sharjah, the Ministry of Health set up the largest field hospital in the UAE at our very own the Expo Center Sharjah, that currently holds 2,000 bed capacity, which can be increased to up to 3,000 beds if required. But if we're talking about internationally, India has just announced that it opened one of the largest hospitals in the world, also to help fight the coronavirus. And this hospital can hold, or capacity can hold up to from 2,000 to 10,000 beds approximately.
That's right. And this bed is located in the Chhatarpur area of Delhi. It'll be in use starting Wednesday this week. And India's Home Minister Amit Shah and Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal visited the care center on Saturday ahead of its launch. They described it as among the largest hospitals in the world. And what's notable here is this is happening in Delhi, which has become India's biggest coronavirus hotspot. We have more than 77,000 coronavirus cases in Delhi. And the experts say this is due to lax contact tracing. There's excessive bureaucracy, which makes things go really slow, meaning poor or no coordination between government and private healthcare facilities, and political wrangles slowing the overall response to the coronavirus. And at the moment, Delhi's been overrun with cases, draining its resources and public hospitals and prompting the necessity of building new hospitals to combat this surge.
Yeah, and it's all about making sure that the coronavirus cases don't spiral out of control. Now, in line with that, the number of containment zones in the national capital stood at 421 yesterday, recording an increase of 141 over 2 days as the Delhi government decided to break the existing coronavirus disease hotspots into smaller clusters for better surveillance and control of the outbreak. So this is as part of their new revamped strategy to fight the COVID-19. They're looking at containment zones where movement is strictly restricted and health screening is intensified. And it was to be prepared by June 26, and that is the given deadline, and they're meant to be implemented as soon as possible to contain the spread of COVID-19.
Certainly, and to elaborate on that as well, Delhi's ramping up the rate of testing, an ambitious slew of measures here, including door-to-door screenings of all its 29 million residents. They also say they will randomly sample 26,000 people across the city and use drones and police to maintain social distancing as well.
Yep, of course, and that is going to be something that we will continue talking about, and we will be discussing that in greater detail as the world is continuing this fight against the spread of COVID-19. Up next on the program, we're talking about what measures the local governments here in Sharjah is doing, particularly when it comes to monitoring the violations which have been recorded and seen a bit of an increase, especially after the end of the movement restrictions following the conclusion of the National Disinfection Programme. Stay tuned to the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate. Pulse.
Hello and welcome back on to the Morning Majlis. Well, the Sharjah and Ajman police have stepped up their patrolling and vigilance efforts to ensure people follow the rules that will help the country flatten the coronavirus curve. And this came after authorities announced just on Saturday that they have noticed an increase in the number of violations after the nighttime movement restrictions were lifted, especially violations that have to do with hosting gatherings and failure to wear masks.
Yep, it's not ideal to be doing that. I know that ease of restrictions or movement restrictions has now encouraged a lot of people to feel a little bit more free in terms of how they're spending their time out and about. Now, the idea is that it is still not allowed to be holding gatherings in public places, homes or farms and not wearing masks. Such practices could result in wasting the gains that we have made. And that's according to a statement that's come from Major General Saif Zarya Shamsi, Commander-in-Chief of the Sharjah Police. He said that the force will continue to carry out its duty to spot violators and issue administrative penalties. Reopening or returning to normal life does not mean one can ignore the precautionary protocols issued by the authorities to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, we are going to be seeing a number of increased patrols, and it's just going to be interesting to see how this is going to happen, because a lot of people are still concerned, saying, oh, am I going to be in trouble because I'm doing this and that? But the idea is you have to understand that the rules are there. You even though that the restrictions have eased, and yes, you can go to your workplaces, 100% occupancy at workplaces in private sector at the moment in many places. That does not mean that you can say, all right, great, the virus is gone, we've beaten it, it's time to go out and just have a big gathering.
You can't always blame people because
Yep.
it's the mental state that you're in. You know what I mean? It's like you feel like once they said that the national disinfection program has come to an end.
Yep.
There's no more curfews. So immediately you're like, okay, we're free. We can do whatever we want. It's that, it's that thing in your head. It's not about, you can't really blame people. They're not doing this on purpose. I'm sure they're not. It's just the mental state, I think.
Yeah, and the Federal Emergency Crisis and Disasters Management Authority here in the UAE continues to educate the public about this because, like you stated, it breeds a sense of complacency when you see businesses opening up, restaurants, movement again.
Hotels.
Gives you this illusion that things are back to normal.
Yeah.
But it's not the case.
Not the
we're
case.
still amid a global pandemic.
Exactly.
Cases are surging in many countries around the world, even countries that have been deemed victorious over the virus for quite some time and hadn't seen cases in weeks. Now, suddenly, they're surging again. So it's all about reining it in. And that's what the authorities here are trying to do, in fact, enforcing a number of measures, the police ramping up patrols. And they also spoke about fines here. The Federal Emergency Crisis and Disasters Acting Director saying that the fine will be doubled for those repeating any violations and that third-time offenders could face up to 6 months in jail and or a minimum fine of 100,000 dirhams. So the punishments remain in place and they are strictly enforced.
Yeah, when you look at the number in terms of how you're going to be fined, it will definitely make you not be a repeat offender or even violate them. But one point to consider now is the mandatory wearing of face masks. I know the authorities have said, like, if you are getting involved in strenuous exercises, if you're out and about training where obviously it's going to affect your breathing, then it's okay to put the mask down. But that does not give you a reason to say, I'm going to go for a nice stroll along the Al Majaz Lagoon or Khalid Lagoon of Al Majaz waterfront and put the mask down. No, there's a reason why they've asked us to wear those face masks, and it is a precautionary step, and we should always comply with that. And think of it this way, a face mask is like a winter coat. You just got to wear it. Just got to have it with you, because once you're stepping out, make sure that it is there with you, and keep a backup one in your cars as well, because there's so many times when I've done it. And if you've got any interesting stories of realizing that you don't have a face mask on you, then do get involved on the text lines 4215. We'll try to not get you a fine, but it's just incredible that many times you think, oh no, I've not got my face mask on, and then you're sort of running around and thinking, it's not even in your glove compartment. Then you have to go to the supermarket to buy another one.
So it's just worth reminding everyone that everyone is supposed to wear face masks in public places, when leaving home, when using public transport. And those who are found not following those guidelines and rules will be fined, and the penalties will be doubled for a repeat offense. Third-time offenders will be subject to legal action and could be jailed for up to 6 months or fined no less than 100,000 dirhams. So it's not a joke.
Certainly not a joke indeed. Absolutely not. And the masks normalizing that behavior, getting everyone to do it. Because of asymptomatic transmission, you can never really be sure you don't have the coronavirus, which is why when you have as many people as possible wearing masks, that certainly gets you to a safe point. Well, we have a lot more stories to discuss this morning, a lot of big developments from the region and around the world. Stay tuned as we discuss those in the next hour, right here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate. Pulse.
Hello, welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. And yesterday, in fact, 8 p.m. Sunday, we had a grand celebration to conclude the 90-day UAE National Disinfection Program. Now, this was a ceremony, and of course, it concluded on last Wednesday, in fact. The entire program did. But yesterday, we had a grand celebration in the form of a parade, which started at An-Noor Mosque all the way down to Al-Majaz waterfront or Al-Majaz amphitheatre. That's where it concluded, and it was a big thank you to all our heroes to celebrate the end of the program. But guys, it seems like a lifetime ago when the disinfection program started.
Right?
In March 26th.
In March. It was only 3 months ago.
3 months ago, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it did. It wasn't.
It feels like it was a year ago.
Everything was so different. It felt like I was in an alternate universe or timeline.
Yeah. Well, shout out
We should
to
write this in our CVs.
Survived COVID.
We survived COVID-19.
He's still getting through it, and it's something worth. It will be in our stories that we tell our grandchildren one day.
Exactly.
Hopefully. It's incredible to see how the UAE has the measures taken by the United Arab Emirates. Back then, when we first started the program, it was only done for 3 days. That was the idea. That it's going to be for 3 days, stay indoors after 8 p.m. And then suddenly got extended until April 5. They're like, look, we have to do this. It's such a great program. We have to do this for another week. We let that be. And then eventually, out of nowhere, the Emirate of Dubai said, hey, it's going to be 24 hours. And then the permit system came in place. Then we had the checkpoints between the borders.
Every single day. There's a new
So
thing.
much was going
Yeah,
on.
a new guideline every day.
And shout out to Iman Al-Majali, who's our newsreader. And Pulse 95 Radio was at the forefront as well. Once again, we played a video about... it was her voiceover, in fact, over the video that showed empty streets of Sharjah.
Right.
It was pen
incredible.
drop silence, no one out and about, great compliance shown by the Sharjah residents. So bit of a pat on the back for all of you out there as well. But thanking our heroes was one thing. But now I've got a little bit of a question for you. In 90 days, we had a disinfection program taking place every day, every hour, for those hours that were set. How much disinfectant or disinfectants were used? Just take a wild guess.
So
Oh,
much.
goodness.
It's a tricky question.
I can't guess.
Yeah. Any wild guess? 1 liter, 2 liters?
Of course not.
4 liters, 1 gallon?
No.
I'm sure
Of
like
course.
absurd amounts
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
our imagination.
Okay, because I spoke to the CEO of Tandif yesterday, Mr. Raphael, who joins us on the Morning Managers. In fact, sent us a statement very kindly because it was a very, very busy day. Sharjah TV was out there yesterday doing the interviews with the representative from BIA, and we've got our own discussion. But any wild guesses in terms of how much disinfectants were used? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who'll be almost... Tons? There'll be a lot of people who will be, it'll be in litres, so not tons, who are almost parking their cars in
You said wild guesses.
Wild
so I'm
guess.
just
Being
doing
wild here.
I'm being very wild with my
1,000
guesses.
litres?
No, more.
More.
Yeah.
Okay. Ahmad.
Again, it's going to be an obscene amount, I'm pretty sure. To the point where I can hazard a guess right now.
Okay.
I really can't.
Right, so just to break everyone's suspense, it is, in fact, 220,000 litres of disinfectant
Wow.
There you go.
used
Goodness.
Wow.
that. And to know more about this, we have Mr. Rafael Lopez, who is the CEO of Tandif. It is BIA's waste collection and city cleaning division. And this is what Mr. Rafael had to say to Pulse 95 Radio about how this program went.
The UAE marks the end of the National Disinfection Program. We are proud that BIA played a key role in the initiative to curb the spread of COVID-19. Over the last 3 months, we have mobilized more than 100 operational vehicles for over 123,000 of total vehicle hours, deployed hundreds of workers, disinfected over 47,000 kilometers of roads, and used 222,000 liters of disinfectant. Tonight, BIA and the other government entities in Sharjah celebrated this achievement in unity in a parade across Sharjah. This crisis has shown that everyone has a part to play to stay safe, and we can overcome all challenges if we work towards a common goal together.
What a statement to take back. But we've also heard from the Director General of Sharjah Municipality as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did, absolutely. Thabit Salim Al-Tarifi stated that the march for teams participating in the National Disinfection Program that took place in Khalid Lagoon has been organized and was organized to thank and acknowledge those who participated in the wonderful work system that was formed during the time of crisis, congratulating all participants for their valiant efforts during the disinfection program. He also said history will chronicle this moment, indicating that the system made up of federal, local institutions, volunteers, charities, and the private sector, all working together to ensure the public's safety. Al-Tarifi further thanked all participants in the program. He named Sharjah Police, Sharjah Civil Defense, BIA, the Sharjah Charity International, as well as the media that spread awareness and educated the public about the impact of COVID-19 and how we could all stay safe.
Now, this moment it'll make you shed a tear and thinking, oh, we got through this and we did a very good job. We did, and thanks to all the heroes. But the fight doesn't end here. It's now our responsibility. As the UAE says, you're
responsible for everyone.
Yeah, we're all responsible.
Right,
That is the tagline that we've got. And it is so important that we stick by it and stick with it and make sure that we wear our masks, ensure social distancing, and also make sure that we keep our own surroundings safe and happy as well. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Our discussions don't end here. We're going to be talking about another key aspect, a forgotten story. It was the 737 MAX and how they were in the headlines for a number of months. But now they're back again because they're going to be roaring their engines soon. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95. Good morning and welcome back to the program. And the 737 MAX, I bet that's a title you haven't heard in quite some time. This is the airplane that was implicated in two deadly airplane crashes in late 2018 and early 2019, and this resulted in the grounding worldwide of the 737 MAX airplane by aviation regulators. But now Boeing is set to test the safety of this aircraft yet again. Tests, in fact, are poised to begin as early as today.
Yes, the move actually marks an important step in the process to recertify the 737 MAX, which has been grounded since March of last year for flights. Now, Boeing has said it expects to receive full approval for the plane to fly passengers by the middle of this year. And also the FAA, in a letter to Congress, actually Sunday, said it does not yet have a date for when the grounding will be lifted.
Yep, of course, and it's all because of that MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, and that was what has been in the limelight, and it was a bit of a challenge, and air crashes, certainly with the number of investigations going on, the PK8303 also being a recent incident, this time of an Airbus. It's just not ideal, and its impact is felt not only by the direct victims of the tragic incident, but across the globe, and sympathies pouring in from different parts of the world, and it really raised alarm bells. Both the Ethiopian Airlines and the Lion Air flight, that look, this new aircraft needs to be grounded. A number of regional carriers had it because it was such a great aircraft for its medium range capabilities. But a 737 MAX loaded with test equipment will run through a series of mid-air scenarios near Boeing's manufacturing base at Seattle. According to Reuters, pilots will intentionally trigger the reprogrammed stall prevention software known as MCAS. Both the FAA, which is leading the testing, and Boeing are hopeful that the process will get underway today. barring last-minute hitches. It'll be very interesting to see how it pans out.
It's going to be a quite rigorous set of tests as well, because typically these tests are completed in a matter of hours on a single day, according to industry experts. But this testing drive will take place over a number of days and are meant to ensure new protections that Boeing are added to the MCAS are robust enough. So they are testing the system to prevent the scenario that pilots encountered before both crashes, when they were unable to counteract the MCAS system and grappled with column vibrations and other warnings as well. And we'll certainly keep you posted with those developments. If all goes well, the Federal Aviation Authority in the United States would then need to approve new pilot training procedures, among other reviews, and would not likely approve the plane's undergrounding until September of this year, according to people familiar with this matter.
Yes, of course. Well, we'll be keeping our fingers crossed that the tests go according to plan, and the aircraft can return back to the skies at some point as soon in the near future. Well, time now for us to take a bit of a breather. Up next, after the business headlines, we shall be turning pages, this time virtually, because we've got a bit of a book club for all of us. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate. Pulse.
Hello and welcome back on to the Morning Majlis, and we have great news for bookworms out there, because Sharjah Book Authority has just announced the launch of a virtual book club that's online. It will host renowned authors in a series of live and interactive book discussions, and it will start just next week on July 2nd. That is on Thursday. Now, these free-to-attend fortnightly or every 2 week sessions will debut at 7 p.m., as I said, on July the 2nd, with New York Times bestselling author Joseph Finder, who will entertain audiences with a dialogue based on his nail-biting mystery thriller House on Fire. And it will be moderated by Emirati author Iman El-Yusuf. The discussion will be hosted on the Zoom video communications platform and also can be accessed on a link.
Yeah, great way to bring people together during the pandemic when people are less likely to go out. And when it comes to reading books, there's a strong social component to it. You read a book, you interpret it a certain way, and you talk to your friends about what it means for you. And what's fascinating about these talks that happen in book clubs is everybody's got their own take on what a book did to them and how it affected them. And we are set to see a number of influential and popular authors here in the genres of thrillers and mystery as well during these virtual book clubs. According to a statement from the Director of Fairs and Festivals of the Sharjah Book Authority, Khawla Al-Mujani, said that we're going through stressful times exacerbated by our inability to socialize the way we did before COVID-19. And she's saying that communal activities like book discussions go a long way in instilling hope and positivity, and that the Sharjah Book Authority is staying true to its commitment to enrich people's lives with the, quote, fascinating world of stories.
Yep, of course. Great initiative by Sharjah Book Authority. It's part of its mission to promote Sharjah's cultural project by enabling members of the society to broaden their horizons as well as enrich their knowledge. So let us know on the text lines 4215 if you're part of a book club in general anyway, but now with the virtual book club, is that going to be something that you will be willing to take part in? Is there a book that you would recommend to our readers, or to our listeners, in fact, to listeners?
Readers.
Yeah, they can read our Instagram captions, of course, on our Instagram post.
Nice.
So all of you out there, followers of Instagram.
Read our podcast descriptions.
Yes.
Exactly. Why not? But our podcasts are up on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. Title is The Morning Majlis. Subscribe and share away and like. But if you would like to recommend a particular book, and also talk about it, then do get involved on the text lines 4215. We can even have you on the show to talk about your book as well, or the book that you're reading. So it'll be a true delight. But all the bookworms out there, music to their ears, a virtual book club.
Yes, absolutely. Join the Majlis Book Club. We could talk books all day. Text us at 4215, and we've got more discussions lined up for you on the program this morning. We're going to talk about sports, all the latest sporting developments, plus Pakistan's cricket squad, new developments here. Now that the squad is somewhat depleted following positive tests due to COVID-19. All of the sporting updates right here on Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Hello and welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. As the world of football has resumed, it is also time for the world of cricket to get back, because it is the summer. It is the summer months in the United Kingdom when there's a bit of a sunny spell and on the grass fields as people turn up in large numbers to play a game of cricket in normal parks, and now it's going to be West Indies touring England. The English side is expected to play the strongest 11, despite the issues that they might be having with the new rotation plans. But another team that is going to be joining them as part of all the test matches matches that will be played behind closed doors is Pakistan. Pakistan has been a side that had quarantined its players well before travelling to do the tests, and now they'll be travelling again, and they have travelled. They took off yesterday evening to fly to the UK, and they will have to quarantine again, but they're a depleted squad because a number of players had tested positive. How is the series going to be? It's going to be very interesting to see, because Stuart Broad, an ace England fast bowler, says that he usually performs his best feeding off the energy from the crowd. For now, to play test matches, a 5-day game, is going to be test to train his brain to think it's a normal test match scenario come July 8th, when the team is ready for their encounters. But apart from cricket, a number of games and other sports have been taking place behind closed doors as well.
Yes, and it is my pleasure to talk about my favorite football league, La Liga, and my favorite football club, Real Madrid, because yesterday they had a game against Espanyol and they won 1-0. Well, Karim Benzema delivered another moment of magic as Real Madrid took a 2-point lead over Barcelona at the top of La Liga by beating bottom club Espanyol. Benzema's volley against Valencia could be goal of the season, and he might now have a claim to best assist too, after his brilliant back heel teed up Casemiro to finish for a crucial 1-0 win. And now Madrid's advantage in the table, coming after Barca's draw away at Celta Vigo on Saturday, is now their biggest since February and puts them within sight of their second league title in 8 years.
Yeah, and look, going over to English football, we've got a pretty big number of games moving forward. The FA Cup semi-finals set to take place on the 18th and 19th of July. Got some pretty interesting matchups here. Man United versus Chelsea, and Arsenal versus Man City as well. This draw features 3 of the FA Cup's 4 most successful sides. Arsenal won the competition a record 13 times as well. So that's going to be an interesting number of games to look forward to next month.
Yep, yesterday we had the 6th round of the FA Cup. A bit of a sad news for Newcastle fans. It was Manchester City and continuing the dominance in that encounter. 2-0 victory over Newcastle to get through. Chelsea beat Leicester 1-0 to get through to the semi-finals, and Arsenal versus Sheffield United also ended with a 2-1. So Arsenal is going to be in the FA Cup semi-finals. So a number of big teams are taking part in that. Now it will be interesting to see how the season pans out now. And it will be interesting to see when fans will be allowed back into the English football stadiums to catch those encounters. Well, as life is returning back to normal, Morning Majlis will also take a bit of a breather. We'll go for a quick nap and then be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early 7 a.m. And if you'd like to catch up with most of the discussions, you can find them on our podcast pages.
Absolutely. Head over to SoundCloud, type in the Morning Majlis on the search bar, and tune in to the latest discussions on the stories shaping the headlines. Thank you all for listening and texting throughout the show, and see you next time.
You're listening to Pulse 95.
95.
It's the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.